You picked a good day to click on a side flick. We got a lot of great news to talk about, so let's get into them. Some of the things we're going to be discussing here today, guys, is it looks like we might have our first bit of minor details concerning Scream 7. We got a little announcement teaser trailer for Chucky Season 3, and I am so curious how they're going to pull this season off, along with Hasbro listing off a couple of other toy properties that we should expect to get movies or TV shows in the near future. That along with so much more, so be sure to leave me your opinions with everything we discuss here today. Don't forget, you are beautiful. That's right, you that I'm staring at right now. Whatever you're munching on, have 2 of them, okay? On me. If you're not munching on anything, then get to snacking, my boy. Alright, so the first thing I want to dive into here today is we have our first look to the upcoming Godzilla TV series that is going to be coming out on Apple TV. It is set in the same universe as the MonsterVerse, with Godzilla 2014 to Godzilla vs. Kong to the upcoming Godzilla and Kong. One of these first looks does include Godzilla himself looking mighty awesome. Let me read to you the plot for this show. The story of Monarch, Legacy of Monsters will span 3 generations and centers on 2 siblings who follow in their father's footsteps to uncover their family connection to the secretive organization known as Monarch, the kaiju tracking group featured in Legendary's MonsterVerse films. Now, I'm really curious to see how this pans out and whether if it'll be interesting at all to watch, because I think Monarch is an interesting angle to take for a Godzilla TV series. I think the more we can learn about that, the better, and I even kind of like the angle they're approaching with for this show, spanning different generations, because here we have 2 photos, one of Wyatt Russell and then another one of Kurt Russell. Wonder if they're related, who are playing the exact same character just in different time periods. I feel like that in itself is just going to be interesting to see the history of Monarch and what this secret they're going to uncover, and whether it leads into anything with Godzilla and Kong or any other MonsterVerse movies they have coming up. The only other thing I joked about when looking at these first looks is, man, this photo of Godzilla better not be the only shot of Godzilla in the show, because you know they'll pull something like that. In fact, I was seeing some people who commented saying they got a sneak peek of the first episode that this scene will actually be a flashback to the San Francisco incident of the first Godzilla movie, making me think, yeah, we gotta tame our expectations a little bit on how much Godzilla we're gonna be getting in the show. But if the story and the characters are interesting, I don't mind Godzilla popping up once every 3 episodes or something. Let me know if you guys are looking forward to this Godzilla TV series. Bringing it here to Hasbro, now we know they just made themselves a bajillion barbillion dollars thanks to Margot Robbie's Barbie. And of course, Hollywood never learns the right lessons in looking at that and going, the world wants more toy movies. Get every toy we have and give them something. Which is why we have an article here saying Hasbro launches entertainment division led by E1 executives. Now in this article, they list off a couple of properties that they have planned to make a movie or a TV show. And as I go through the list, I want you to tell me which you think has the most potential of actually being successful. Some of the projects include Nerf, G.I. Joe, Play-Doh, Peppa Pig, Transformers, My Little Pony, Dungeons and Dragons, and Magic the Gathering. Now, aside from the obvious, like Transformers, because we already know that's been proven, that can be successful. We've already got like 20 Transformer movies. G.I. Joe, man, is still that one that I'm like, this can be a successful franchise if you just give it to the right person. It's got all the ingredients to be really entertaining. They haven't nailed that yet. Maybe they will soon. Some oddball ones that I was looking at, I was like, Nerf, man. I was joking. You make a Nerf movie in the vein of like Wanted or The Matrix, you know, have those little foam bullets throwing at you in slow-mo, you could have a really entertaining movie right there. We all wanted Nerf guns, and some of us had the cool parents that let us have one, and some of us had the parents that said, you gotta poke your eye out, kid. I was the kid not allowed to have Nerf guns. So although that might seem weird, I feel like Nerf does have a little bit of potential somewhere in there, at least action-wise speaking. Dungeons and Dragons, yo, they surprised me this year with the movie that came out with. If you still have not seen the Dungeons and Dragons movie that released this year, highly recommend it. Very surprising, super entertaining film, and you really don't need to know anything about Dungeons and Dragons. So hopefully having Dungeons and Dragons on the list means they'll make a sequel to that movie, because I would love to see another film in that world. I've seen people mention if they make something with Play-Doh, you got to do a claymation style, right? That's the only way to do it. If Lego can pull off something interesting, I'm sure Play-Doh can do it as well. Just got to do some stop motion. I feel like that's the best way to go with Play-Doh. But I think the big winner here that could like undertake everybody, Magic the Gathering. I'm not even a Magic the Gathering player, And I have heard of Magic the Gathering, okay? I was more of a Yu-Gi-Oh boy, had my little phase there, which I'm sure Magic the Gathering fans will say that is like the diet version of their card game. But I feel like isn't that already filled with like a giant fan base, has a lot of intriguing monsters, ghouls, whatever happens in that card game. I feel like that has the most potential out of them all. But again, we'll see what happens. Remember, this is all because of Barbie and people thinking we want toy-related movies on the big screen when Barbie was just a mixture of so many things coming together that made it such a huge success. I don't think the fact that it was a toy movie is what made it go boom. But I throw it off to you guys. What from this list do you think has the most potential? Bringing us to a small updates on the upcoming Thunderbolts movie. Now, I know there's still a lot of naysayers and people kind of doubting Marvel these days, which I can understand. When it comes to the upcoming Thunderbolts movies, even though the team is lacking, some pizzazz in the power department, I like all these characters on the roster. I'm kind of excited to see them team up, their dynamic, and how that film at all is going to play out. And we recently had the director give us small details about what to expect, and I feel like it's a little exciting. He said here, it was just a really different approach and a new kind of story to tell amidst that, which I know they've made so many things, but it's not a sequel. Yes, these characters have appeared before, but it's a new story being told. A story, I think, with a very different perspective than maybe people aren't expecting. And I think that felt exciting and felt like a real challenge worth taking on. Thunderbolts is set to be one of the ending movies of this current phase, so I'm thinking big things are going to happen to it. My biggest concern with Marvel right now is that nothing feels like a self-contained story, nothing feels like a one and done. Everything is working its way to setting up to something bigger, which is fine. You can have setups, but when like half your movie turns into that, then that's where it kind of loses me, because I still like me to go back and rewatch some of the earlier phase 1 movies where they felt like such contained stories, and then maybe at the very end or in small scenes they would hint to something bigger. Him kind of saying this is not a sequel, it's a really unexpected story, gives me hope that it will be that it can tell us a fulfilling story with all these characters in there, and maybe towards the end they hint to something more. But again, let's wait to see some footage, because my excitement can go down really quick. But for now, I'm looking forward to Thunderbolts. What about you guys? And that brings us into some hard talk here, because we just got our first teaser trailer for the upcoming Chucky Season 3, which I'm not gonna lie to you guys, this took me by surprise. And the main reason is because I feel like it's been a flip of the coin whether we were even gonna get this show this year because of the strike going on. When the Hollywood strike happened, it was reported by a couple of crew members that they had only finished filming half of the show, like that they got 4 episodes in. And each season of the Chucky TV series is about 8 episodes long. So I thought, oh, I don't think they're gonna release it then. They gotta finish those episodes, but they're going to power through, and they have no mention here whether it's going to be half a season or if they're going to cut the episode lengths and rework it and whatnot. Talking about that more in a sec here, though. Looking at the actual teaser trailer, yeah, it's a bit of fun. It's what Chucky kind of does nowadays, pretend to be this public celebrity actor that does press conferences. It's the funny side of Chucky that, I could do without sometimes, but I've just gotten used to it now. I understand there's people that love this wacky side of him, while I, miss the Child's Play 2 days where he just seemed frightening. Some of the new things that they reveal in here is, again, to go with the theme of the announcement, the new season will be taking place in DC, Washington, which is why you kind of have this like Chucky running for president vibe in the promo. That's a little bit unexpected. I was actually kind of looking forward to the New York setting, because that's where last season ended off. Jennifer Tilly was in New York and Nika was hunting her down. But instead it looks like it takes us to Washington, D.C. I also don't think at all we should expect to see the return of Glenn/Glenda or Gigi, because they have taken themselves abroad to the UK, going off on their own adventure. Wonder if that'll ever come back into play. There was a little jab at Megan in there where he was asked, do you think there's too many killer doll movies out there? And Chucky got a little pissed. So overall, just like a fun little announcement, at least letting us know that this thing is happening, but I feel like it's going to be a cut short season. I feel like maybe they've reworked or edited it in a way where it can end on a cliffhanger, and then depending on when this strike is over, they'll get to filming the rest of the season. That happens a lot, like a mid-season finale, mid-season tease. That's a common thing on TV, so I wouldn't mind them doing that, but again, we just haven't had the confirmation of that. The only other new thing to bring up is this is also the first season that is going to be releasing on Peacock the next day after it airs on TV. So usually it would show up on USA and the Sci-Fi Channel, and then, like a couple months down the line, the whole season would end up on Peacock. Peacock. Now, you know, they'll have one episode go on TV, and then the next day you can watch it on Peacock. So yeah, it's always good to get some Chucky news in my life because I love that little killer doll, and I'm always going to be down to watch whatever he does. Season 1, really enjoyed. Season 2, I was kind of meh on. Season 3, I'm hesitant, but I can't help to be excited for that boy. How are you guys feeling about Chucky Season 3? How do you think they're going to work around only having 4 episodes right now? Do you like the new setting of Washington, D.C.? What are your hopes for the season? Would love to hear it all down below. Bringing us now to talk about some Scream 7. Ever since it got announced and confirmed this movie is happening, I've just gotten a little happier because it's, again, a confirmation of a new Scream movie. That's always going to make me ecstatic. It is sad that we lost radio silence as directors, but Christopher Landon, I've really warmed up to the idea, and I feel like he's gonna deliver. I mean, he's been non-stop saying he promises to deliver to the fans. At least that's what he says on Twitter. And now thanks to a user, K Carpenter here, who was scrummaging around Production Weekly, that usually lists off a bunch of upcoming movies and TV shows that are going into production with some information sometimes being revealed, they were able to find out some interesting details about Scream 7. Now, I do want to say, take it with a small grain of salt. Production Weekly is very reliable, but they have been known in the past to sometimes just include internet rumors in there, but this wasn't a rumor before Production Weekly. The source is Production Weekly itself, so I don't think they're throwing in some random rumor in there. But they're noting here that the working title for Scream 7 is Blackbird. Now, reminder again, Blackbird is not going to be the official title. The working title is just kind of what they go under for production. Scream 5, their working title was Parkside Alpha, which I think was a reference to the first Scream movie's working title. Scream 6 ended up working under the name Blackmore, and that's the name of the university our characters go to in that film. So bringing it now to Blackbird, I'm really curious what that could mean. Again, it's going to be such an insignificant small detail. It's not going to be that huge, but I mean, it could be anything. It could be the Beatles song, The Blackbird. It could be literally the Blackbird, which is like an omen, always seen as kind of like a haunting figure. If anything, the biggest thing to take away is this title doesn't really seem to have a huge connection to previous Scream movies. I kind of don't want Scream 7 to be an homage to Scream 3. I think Scream 6 was at its absolute best when they were trying to do their own thing and reinvent the franchise instead of replicating what previous Scream movies have done. The other interesting things to note from this detail is that they mentioned they are hoping to start production by the beginning of January 2024, and they will film all the way till April 19th, 2024, so that the movie could hopefully release in fall of 2024. Finally, a Scream movie coming in the Halloween season. Best news ever. I don't know why the last 2 Scream movies were always released in the beginning of the year, especially Scream 6 when that's set on Halloween. You should release that around Halloween Day, but I guess there was always, too much competition going on that they just felt they'd drown in it. And that they are also planning to film once again in Montreal, Canada, where they turn the streets of Canada into New York, letting us know movie's gonna be in New York again. Now again, this is Hollywood, so they can turn the streets of any populated city into any other city they want. They literally turned Canada into New York in this movie, and it worked. So for all we know, they can turn Montreal now into Washington, D.C., Seattle, maybe even the streets of London, I'm not sure. But it is interesting to note that it is during the time of year where there is said to be snow. I mean, I googled it myself. I'm not a weatherman, but according to Google, it says in Montreal, Canada, it usually snows between the months of December until the end of April, and they're filming till the end of April. If you're not giving me a new location and you're staying in New York, a layer of snow would go a long way for it feeling fresh and different. I want to see me some Ghostface running in that snow, blood dripping in there. Woo! So yeah, that is all extremely exciting. The only thing left now is the confirmation of which characters are returning in here, because no idea if Neve Campbell will be in this one. I even see some people worried that like Jenna Ortega might not come back just because of how busy and maybe how expensive she is now. You gotta remember, although they want to start filming at the beginning of January, because of the strike, a lot of these actors have other things they gotta do. Melissa Barrera was filming a vampire movie. We don't know if she finished that before the strike. Same thing with Jenna Ortega. She was in the middle of Beetlejuice 2. Not sure if she finished filming that. Then she's got to go into Wednesday season 2. That's gonna take a lot of time. So I don't know. We just got to keep an open mind, see what happens with Scream 7, but that's the current plan that they have right now based off production listings. We'll see where things end up, but I throw it to you guys. What do you make of all these Scream 7 details? But that is all the information we currently have going on right now, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking time out to watch me talk some movie news. Don't be forgetting to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chrissy Poo. Take care, Poo.